Scientists discovered that one modern habit is physically rewiring your brain right now. The scary part? Most people do it hundreds of times every day without noticing. Right now, while you're watching this video, your brain is changing, not in some motivational, self-help kind of way. Not metaphorically, physically. Billions of neurons are communicating with each other. Some connections are becoming stronger, others are becoming weaker. Entire networks inside your brain are constantly adapting to the life you've been living. And here's the strange part. Your brain doesn't really care whether those changes are helping you or hurting you. It only cares about repetition. Whatever you repeatedly do, your brain assumes is important. If your days are filled with learning, focus, movement, and deep thinking, your brain adapts to those demands. But if your days are dominated by endless scrolling, constant interruptions, poor sleep, and instant gratification, your brain adapts to that too. Most people think they are shaping their habits. What they don't realize is that their habits are quietly shaping their brain. And scientists have discovered something fascinating. Some of the strongest predictors of long-term cognitive performance aren't hidden inside your genetics. They aren't determined by IQ. They aren't something you're born with. They're hiding inside ordinary daily behaviors that most people barely think about. In fact, one of the most damaging habits for the modern brain is something millions of people do before they've even brushed their teeth in the morning. And no, it's not sugar. It's something sitting in your pocket right now, your phone. Now don't worry, this isn't one of those videos telling you to throw your phone into a lake and move into a cabin in the woods. Most of us aren't about to become mountain hermits who communicate through smoke signals. The problem isn't technology. The problem is what constant stimulation is doing to the brain. Think about the last time you stood in line somewhere. Maybe waiting for coffee, maybe standing in an elevator, maybe waiting for a friend who's running 5 minutes late, which somehow always turns into 15. What happened? For most people, the answer is automatic. The phone comes out. Every empty moment gets filled. Every second of boredom gets eliminated before it has a chance to exist. At first, that seems harmless. But neuroscience suggests something deeper may be happening. Researchers have identified a network inside the brain called the default mode network. This system becomes active during moments of quiet reflection and has been linked to creativity, future planning, self-awareness, and problem solving. In other words, some of your brain's most important work happens when it looks like nothing is happening at all. Yet modern life has become a war against boredom. And when the brain never gets those quiet moments, something interesting starts to happen. Many people begin losing their ability to sit with their own thoughts. Silence starts feeling uncomfortable. Stillness feels strange, which raises an uncomfortable question. When was the last time you spent 10 minutes alone with your thoughts without reaching for a screen? For many people, it's been so long they genuinely can't remember. And that leads directly to another hidden problem. Most people think mental exhaustion comes from working too hard, but often it comes from switching too often. Imagine trying to read 7 different books at the same time, while someone changes the page every 30 seconds. Sounds exhausting, right? Yet that's essentially what many brains experience all day long. Email, text message, social media, news alert, another notification, back to work, another message, back to work again. Every time your attention jumps from one task to another, your brain pays a price. Neuroscientists call this a switching cost. Your brain must repeatedly stop, reorient, and reload information. The process consumes energy. Over time, that constant switching creates cognitive fatigue, even when you've done very little meaningful work. This is why some people finish the day feeling mentally drained, despite never truly focusing on anything. Their brain has been sprinting all day without actually going anywhere. But here's the fascinating part. Focus behaves much like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. The first time you sit down for 20 minutes without checking your phone, it feels surprisingly difficult. Your brain suddenly remembers every random thing you've forgotten during the last 6 months. You remember an email or a grocery item, a conversation from 3 years ago, perhaps the weird noise your refrigerator made yesterday. Anything except the task in front of you. That's not failure, that's your brain adjusting. And if you stay with it, something remarkable begins to happen. Focus is far more than a productivity skill. It's the foundation that supports memory, learning, emotional control, decision-making, and even the way your brain physically develops over time. When focus weakens, all of those systems suffer. When focus improves, they often improve together. Focus is brain training, but there is one habit that determines whether your brain can fully benefit from any of this. And most people sacrifice it every single night: sleep. For years, sleep was treated almost like an inconvenience, something productive people were supposed to overcome. Some people still brag about sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, as if they're collecting achievement badges. Unfortunately, your brain does not find this impressive. During sleep, your brain performs an extraordinary amount of maintenance. Memories are organized, important information is stored, neural pathways are strengthened, waste products that accumulate throughout the day are cleared away. Some neuroscientists compare sleep to a nightly cleaning crew that works while the rest of the city is asleep. Now, imagine firing that crew night after night. Eventually, things start piling up. And that's exactly what happens inside the brain. Research consistently shows that sleep deprivation affects memory, focus, emotional regulation, decision-making, and self-control. Activity in the prefrontal cortex, the area heavily involved in rational thinking and discipline, begins to decline. Suddenly things make sense. Why cravings become harder to resist, why small problems feel bigger, why emotions become more reactive, why motivation seems to disappear. So, if you genuinely want a sharper brain, stop hunting for exotic brain hacks before you've mastered sleep. That's a little like installing a Formula One engine in a car that hasn't had an oil change in 3 years. But here's where the story becomes even stranger. A tired brain doesn't simply perform worse, and a tired brain interprets reality differently. Studies have found that sleep deprivation increases emotional reactivity, while reducing the brain's ability to regulate those emotions effectively. In other words, when you're exhausted, the world itself can appear more stressful than it actually is. And that's before we even talk about one of the most powerful upgrades available to the human brain: movement. If scientists could package the benefits of exercise into a pill, it would likely become one of the most valuable medical breakthroughs in history. Because movement affects far more than muscles. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain. It stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, often called BDNF, a protein that supports the growth, survival, and strengthening of neurons. Some researchers even describe it as fertilizer for the brain. This may explain why people often solve problems during walks, why ideas seem to appear during workouts, and why mental fog often lifts after movement. Your body moves and your brain benefits. But perhaps the most overlooked effect of exercise has nothing to do with biology. It teaches you to act despite resistance. Every time you go for a walk when you don't feel like it, every time you exercise when motivation is absent, you're teaching your brain a lesson. Feelings don't have to be in charge. And that lesson becomes discipline, which brings us to something surprisingly simple: reading. Most modern content is designed to be consumed. Reading is designed to be processed. That's a huge difference. When you scroll through short videos, information is handed to you. When you read, your brain must actively participate. It creates mental images, connects ideas, predicts outcomes, and analyzes meaning. It's a workout for attention, a workout for memory, and a workout for thinking itself. And the greatest benefits often come from material that stretches your understanding slightly beyond your comfort zone. Not enough to overwhelm you, just enough to challenge you. Because challenge creates adaptation, and adaptation is how the brain grows. The same principle that builds stronger muscles builds stronger neural networks. But there's another reason reading has become so difficult for many people. Modern life is flooding the brain with stimulation. Short videos get shorter. Notifications never stop. Every swipe delivers something new. Over time, your dopamine system begins expecting constant novel and instant rewards. That's when something strange happens. Reading starts feeling slow. Studying feels harder. Deep work feels frustrating. Not because your brain is getting weaker, because it has adapted to faster stimulation. The good news is that adaptation works both ways. Every time you choose a book over endless scrolling, you're retraining your attention. You're teaching your brain that not every reward has to arrive in 15 seconds. And that's becoming a rare skill in the modern world. There's another benefit that often gets overlooked. A stronger brain isn't just better at focusing, it's better at staying calm. Think about how many bad decisions people make when they're angry, stressed, afraid, or frustrated. Most opportunities in life aren't lost because of a lack of knowledge. They're lost because emotions take control before logic gets a chance to speak. Neuroscience shows that emotional regulation is closely linked to the same brain regions involved in focus, self-control, and decision-making. That's why all of these habits connect together. Better sleep improves emotional control. Exercise reduces stress reactivity. Focus training strengthens self-discipline. In many ways, emotional stability is not a separate skill at all. It's often the byproduct of a healthier brain. And that brings us to the final habit that quietly determines whether any of these improvements last. And it may be the most important lesson in this entire video. Most people think successful individuals have more motivation. They don't. Motivation is temporary. Some days it's there, whether some days it disappears without explanation. Consistency is different, but consistency shows up whether motivation feels like it or not. And neuroscience offers a powerful explanation why. Your brain changes through repetition. Every repeated action strengthens certain neural pathways. Over time, those pathways become easier to activate. Behaviors that once required effort begin to feel natural. You no longer force yourself to exercise. You become someone who exercises. You no longer force yourself to focus. You become someone who focuses. You no longer force yourself to learn. You become someone who learns. This is where real transformation happens, not during a burst of inspiration, not after watching one motivational video, and even not during a perfect week. It happens through thousands of ordinary decisions repeated over months and years. Because every single day, whether you notice it or not, your brain is asking the same question: what should I become better at? And whatever you repeatedly do becomes the answer. Tonight, while you're asleep, billions of neural connections inside your brain will be strengthened, weakened, reorganized, and rebuilt. The process will continue whether you're paying attention or not. The only real question is this: are you training your brain to become the person you want to be? Or are you teaching it to become someone you'll eventually struggle to recognize? And by the time most people realize the answer, their brain has already been practicing it for years.